Hi there, and welcome to the first ever interview here on the Milk and Doorbells YouTube page. This new blog post is our first collaboration on the blog or centered around disability culture. And I am so excited for you guys to read this. Vincent Pinti is an amazing disability rights advocate. He is a third-year student at the University of Michigan studying political science and Spanish language. It is his aim to go to law school and become a legal advocate for individuals with disability. He's truly an inspiration, and the stories that we create in this new post are really moving and impactful. I hope you enjoy the interview. Check us out on Instagram at Milk and Doorbells and our website to see what it's all about when it comes to disability culture. Enjoy. Well, Vincent, it's great to have you here. Are you ready for some questions and rapid fire?
I think so. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. So whenever you're ready, let's go.
Okay, so what was the process of writing this blog post like?
For me, it was very cathartic. Writing is a form of release for me. It's something that I've always loved doing. It's something where I really have been able to connect with how I'm truly feeling, and it's my best way of articulating it. But I also just wanted to um, preface too that the writing does have a lot of emotion in it, but that doesn't mean that the writing is necessarily emotional or traumatic or something that bothers me as a person. It's just something that's very true and something that is sort of you know under the surface of who I am, but it never really has a chance to bubble to the surface, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought it was, really cool how we were able to mesh two really different stories together and to make sort of an artistic and expressive piece that isn't necessarily emotional for us because these are our lived experiences, but it provokes kind of this emotional response of trying to figure out which story am I reading, but realizing that there's a shared humanity there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so happy that we were able to find a parallel because I know that, while we both are of the disability community, we have very different circumstances, but there's still so much connection through the shared emotions and the shared experiences that we have with our stories. And I think it's just a really good, broad way to cover the disability community because so many people, at least that I've talked to, that also have similar experiences or similar conditions to mine, they don't feel like there's much of a community, or they feel like the community is very situated just with people of the same condition. And me personally, I think that there is a much broader community, much broader group of people that have shared connections that can empathize with each other, even though our lifestyles aren't the same.
Yeah, and as we sort of have been discussing already, how do you feel about communicating your lived experience on a public platform?
So for me, I'm not really very daunted by public platforms. I've done theater in my life, but also I have a visible condition. My condition is not something that I can hide. It's not something that I want to hide. For myself, I feel like I have enough privilege where I am in a position where I can articulate my experience, where I can articulate my needs fairly well. I'm fairly independent or I am independent, I would say. And I think that it's sort of my responsibility and sort of my obligation to the community to be able to share my story since I can.
And I love that part about, you are independent. I think a lot of the times, as I'm even reflecting, I'm sort of taking ownership of my stories and my lived experience. And it was captivating to see how you took ownership of that story within the blog post.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we've had conversations before, and I know that, for me, the community is something that I've sort of fallen into. It's not something that I've ever sort of questioned. It's not an identity that I've ever sort of, considered that much as being an identity. It's just something I've considered as always, part of my life. And I know that not everybody has that same timeline, you know, realizing that, um, you know, you're part of the disability experience in this country and that there's nothing wrong with that, and that it is an experience that so many people fall into that are all very diverse and have different needs and different backgrounds and different intersections with other parts of their life that offer valuable insight into, you know, the world and how we want to make changes to make the world better.
Well, Vincent, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
I am ready. I'll try to be ready.
Okay. The first one is disability culture is blank.
Complicated. It's very complicated.
Okay, that's true. What is one thing people get wrong about you?
About me, it's that they don't see me as independent. They see me as somebody that I rely on other people, but we all rely on other people. And people forget that sometimes, that we have a network. And just because, you know, some people are more independent in physical things doesn't mean they're as independent in other aspects, socially or mentally. So, you know, that's what people don't realize, is that I'm, you know, just another independent person trying my best to be successful and approachable in the world.
Yes, and it obviously speaks in this blog post today. It really does. And so I know I asked you this question prior to this, but what book are you excited to read in the coming future?
What book am I excited to read? I've really been in a mystery kick lately, so I'm trying to finish The Goldfinch. It's sort of a mystery, but a lot of it has to do with personal identities. So I'm really interested to see where that story goes, and yeah.
Awesome. My disability is empowering because blank.
My disability is empowering because it forces me to connect with people. It forces me because not everybody sees me as approachable. They don't know how, you know, if I'm able to communicate well. They don't know if I'm, you know, what's a quote unquote normal person. I differ from that sort of physical caricature. So I sort of have to be a little more extroverted than sometimes I even like to be. But, you know, it really has pushed me to make meaningful friendships and push myself to take more opportunities because I know people aren't going to come up to me. I have to come up to them.
I'm glad we've had this opportunity together to write this and have this kind of dialogue. So, who is someone that inspires you?
For me personally, it's probably, it is my grandmother. My grandmother, she has had a lot of adversity in her life, and she's always been very supportive of me. She's, you know, she's 90 years old and she's dealt with sexism and a lot of, you know, abusive relationships in her past. But she's always been someone that's been able to overcome those experiences and be successful, but despite being unnoticed. And I think that it just shows her humility and her empowering nature. And I think that she's an amazing woman. So that's
Wow.
mine.
Wow. I love my grandma too, and I think she inspires me. So I'm glad we have that connection there. All right. So for the final question, this is talking to our audience. What is one idea for our audience to consider when they approach the subject of disability or encounter a person living with disability?
Whenever you encounter somebody with a disability, I always say this: don't consider the disability as the first thing. Consider the person as the first thing, because at the end of the day, we are all people, and we all laugh at the same things, we all love the same way, we all find stimulation in the same way, we find enjoyment in similar things. Find what you have in common with someone. Don't find what is different, because you'll realize that there's so much more that we have in common than what we don't. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true.
Cheesy but powerful. I feel that too. Well, Everyone, please go ahead, follow us on Instagram at Milk and Doorbells. We have a LinkedIn page. We obviously are here on our YouTube channel. Check out our blog posts. It was great working with Vincent. And Vincent, I appreciate your time and sort of the wonderful effort that we have sort of made to contribute to hashtag disability culture. So thank you for being here with us today.
Oh my goodness, I appreciate you too so much, Evan. I think this is absolutely wonderful that you're doing, and I convince any person that has a similar experience and they want to talk about it, come forward. It's an amazing time for reflection, and like I said, I feel like I can tell you anything, Evan. So it's really great. I think that this is awesome.
All right, thank you for listening, and follow us for more.